Sounds like it's a good rollout phase, rollout program. I think it's going to be good to see it kind of come out through because, I mean, the steps that you're taking just to ensure that, we don't just jump all in, but.
That's correct. We learned from the last release, and we had initially planned on a big bang approach and rolling it out, but we thought it would be prudent for not only us, but for our claimants to do the phased rollout. And like I said, we do have the ability that in the event that something does happen, we can slow it down, or if we wanted to, speed it up.
Great. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have two additional projects that I think are worth mentioning. They are our California Sides project and our Treasury Offset program, which Cheryl Mello will discuss.
Thank you so much for giving me your time. As Sabrina said, my name is Cheryl Mello, and I have a vested interest in what Steve Pieri is doing because I'm the Product Development Division Chief. And whatever Steve and his team builds, I inherit. We have what's called maintenance and operation afterwards, so we're very excited to see how well the project is going. So the first initiative I wanted to talk to you about is called California Sides, and that's an acronym that stands for the California State Information Data Exchange System. California Sides was developed through a strategic partnership between the United States Department of Labor and state unemployment insurance agencies. It is a system that enables electronic communication between the states and employers to support more timely and accurate exchange of separation information needed to certify claims. EDD currently mails approximately 4.5 million UI information requests to employers, agents, and third-party administrators at a cost of $1.7 million per calendar year. These costs will be reduced through the adoption of Sides. The two largest causes of UI overpayments are incorrect eligibility decisions due to job separation and working while receiving UI benefits. Some of these overpayments could be prevented by receiving timely and accurate information from employers through electronic communication. In addition to cost savings for mailing and prevention of overpayments, Sides will reduce the number of follow-up phone calls, improve employer response times for completion of determinations, reduce unnecessary appeals, and ultimately reduce paperwork, which will save both time and money for EDD and employers. Our estimated implementation date for Sides is this summer, and we are currently working on an outreach and marketing campaign to inform California employers of the benefits of Sides. We are encouraging their participation by providing simple instructions on the use of this application. The next program is called TOP, and that is an acronym for the Treasury Offset Program. It is a federally mandated program for all states. It is an automated solution that enables EDD to offset federal income tax refunds to collect delinquent overpayment liabilities for state unemployment insurance benefits. EDD began sending advance notices last May to an estimated 360,000 claimants with fraud benefit overpayments. EDD implemented TOP in September 2014 and sent the first data file to the IRS on September 30th, 2014. As of February 27th, 2015, we have collected over $120 million in federal tax refunds to offset outstanding balances. 93% of our UI collectible accounts receivable are due to fraud, and that is primarily from failure to report work and wages. Because of this, we anticipate a significant increase in the collection of fraud benefit overpayments as a result of TOP. To put this in perspective as to how successful TOP has been, last state fiscal year, we collected $152 million from all of our offset programs combined, and that included the Franchise Tax Board, California State Lottery, and the State Controller's Office unclaimed property. From TOP collections alone, we are on track to exceed our entire previous year's collection in all other offset programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Lastly, I'd like to provide an update on the implementation of the state auditor recommendations from the last two audits. First is the California State Auditor's 2011 report. In October 2014, the EDD provided updates on our efforts to implement recommendations cited by the auditor's March 2011 report titled EDD. Its unemployment program has struggled to effectively serve California's unemployed in the face of significant and fiscal challenges. As the title of the report implies, the audit was conducted during the peak of the recession, where we experienced unprecedented workloads that exceeded our capacity to deliver. This was undoubtedly the most challenging time in the UI program has faced since the Great Depression. I'm proud to report that 4 years later, we have not only survived, but in many areas we have thrived through positive change that came as a result of those difficult times. The 2011 report contained 8 recommendations, of which 5 have been fully implemented. The remaining 3 recommendations have been or will fully be implemented by the end of 2015. The first recommendation is a recommendation to further enhance our federal corrective action planning process by establishing key performance measures that Auditor Howell mentioned. As I talked about earlier, our business process innovation team has reviewed all the claim filing and determination processes to identify bottlenecks that cause delays in getting first UI payment to eligible claimants. Well, as a result of that review, the team made recommendations to improve first payment promptness, and those recommendations came along with measurable targets. They were incorporated in our state quality service plan, and that plan was approved by the U.S. Department of Labor. And we believe that this recommendation has been implemented, given that the U.S. DOL is our federal control agency, and they have approved the SQSP for federal fiscal year 2015. The BPI team will, of course, continue to track and measure the outcomes of those solutions and the impact on those performance measures. The implementation of the other 2 recommendations are contingent upon our implementation of UI Online. At that time, we will conduct a second survey to identify claimants' reasons for requesting to speak to an agent versus using our self-service options. We'll also be soliciting suggestions for improving our self-service options, as well as identifying any potential enhancements. And we expect those recommendations to be done by the end of this year. Now for the appeals audit of 2014. In April of 2014, the California State Auditor began conducting an audit of both EDD and the California Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board. The auditor reviewed EDD's policies and practices for making UI benefit determinations to essentially determine whether they were resulting in unnecessary appeals. The CSA report released in August of 2014 outlined concerns on the EDD's eligibility determinations for UI benefits and concluded that appeals of our determinations are frequently successful and that we should improve our efforts to minimize avoidable appeals. You may also recall that the report cited that EDD had approximately a 50% overturn rate. And I think it's critical to note how the EDD and the CUIAB report appeals and decisions. The EDD transmits appeals cases to the appeals board that is representative of the number of appellants, whether that be claimants, employers, or the EDD. And the CUIAB considers each eligibility issue per claim as separate cases and makes decisions on each issue. For example, most claimants can have multiple issues on one claim, and a common one is separation issues, whether that person quit or whether they were fired. Another eligibility issue is whether or not they were able and available. The ALJ will address each issue individually, and if 100% of the issues are not affirmed by the ALJ, that is considered a successful appeal or overturning our decision. And to provide an example, let's say a claimant has 5 issues, and the ALJ affirms 3 of those, agrees with us on those, but they overturn 2. That is considered 2 overturned appeals. The claimant may still be ineligible for benefits, but yet it's counted as overturned decisions. So we just wanted to clarify that. In the more than 26.8 million claims filed over the 4-year period ending June 2014, only 3.2% of those total claims resulted in appeals being filed with the CUIAB. And I want to be crystal clear, EDD does not want our customers to be delayed any more than they have to or go through any unnecessary appeals that would further delay their benefit payments. So with every appeal that is transmitted to the CUIAB, we can conduct a thorough review, and we also do redeterminations when new information becomes available. For calendar year 2014, the EDD conducted over 95,000 redeterminations on eligibility issues. On average, claimants who were scheduled for a determination interview had an average of 1.6 eligibility issues adjudicated. Assuming this average, the EDD did redeterminations for approximately 61,000 claimants, therefore avoiding unnecessary appeals. In addition, we are required by federal and state law to make timely and quality determinations in order to either pay or deny benefits promptly, and we're subject to federal performance measures. Since 2010, we have either met or exceeded the Department of Labor standards for making quality determinations. The 2014 report contained 9 recommendations, which have already been covered. 7 of those we have either taken action or in the process. Those include staff training. In September 2014, we conducted additional appeals training for all of our determination staff, and this was focused on the importance of adequate fact-finding and better documentation. In November 2014, we updated our website to include information on how to report wages in situations where the employer's work week is different from the statutory unemployment work week. In December 2014, we delivered additional training statewide specifically related to when false statements should and should not be assessed. Again, in that same month, we implemented 2 new system tools to streamline the determination processing of completed eligibility decisions. This will allow for more time for determination interviewers to process the more complex claims, complex determinations. Then in January of this year, we established 2 teams. The first team's goal is to develop guidelines for the pre-appeal review process to reduce the number of overturned determinations. And the second team's goal is to conduct an appeals hearing pilot involving EDD representation by phone at appeals hearings to see if that would be more effective in reducing the number of appeals.
And in a sense, to just kind of get the feedback from what's going on with the appeals board and why they're overturning, and they're trying to take it back home and kind of figure it out?
Yes, well, actually, for us to be an active participant in that. Years ago, EDD did used to participate at hearings, but due to funding limitations, we no longer do that. And so this really is a pilot to assess, does it make a difference for us to essentially be a part of those hearings?
I know the auditor recommends that. I think,
Yes.
like most of us, I think getting that feedback is really important. In your
Crucial.
process, that's a little bit of feedback that you guys could use and kind of.
Absolutely, absolutely.
appreciate
We
it.
are
Good to hear
all
that.
about continuous improvement. Later this spring, we will also be conducting a comprehensive review of our policies, including what constitute a false statement penalty. And as a result of that review, we'll be updating our procedures and make further updates or training as needed. To address the remaining 2 items, later this year we'll be conducting a comprehensive analysis of eligibility issues, specifically targeted those with the highest overturn rate. And in summary, I would like to thank the California State Auditor staff for their work in preparing the audit, and to acknowledge that we do welcome independent audits as an opportunity to identify areas for continuous improvement. And we look forward to reporting the successful implementation of recommendations in the near future. I've covered quite a bit of information, and if I may, if you would allow me to just summarize by saying we are truly grateful for your support and providing the needed funds that allowed us to hire the much-needed staff and to get them trained so that we can provide timely assistance to our customer. Secondly, we are so thrilled to be able to report that we have met all of our service level goals. And we're going to continue to implement process improvement strategies to streamline our processes so that ultimately we are able to effectively operate this program within the limited federal dollars. And lastly, our primary objective is to increase access to services so that in the most difficult of economic times with high demands, that unemployed workers will have the ability to get the services they so deserve. And we look forward to continuing to partner with you as we introduce more self-service options in the future. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions you may have.
Great. Well, I think, I don't know how many questions we'll have, but I think you've summarized it very well. I appreciate you answering each of the concerns. I know a lot of the project that you're working on will be online or will be worked out this year, which is great. So I look forward to possibly doing a follow-up opportunity to reach out and see how did it go this year. and how successful was the rollout program and all the other recommendations that we have, because I think it'll give us an opportunity. And also to kind of see where you're at. I know that a lot of the things that you're working on, does that fit your mission statement as an organization? I think from what I hear, the director kind of said himself.
Absolutely, to provide timely services as well as advanced technology to be able to deliver those services to Californians.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, anyway, thank you again for your time. Appreciate the opportunity to hear from the good work that you're doing and the improvements that you're working on. And I look forward to going out to the district and visiting my local EDD, and I will be asking the folks there at the front lines
Excellent.
to see how they feel and how we're doing. But I'm excited about it, and thank you again for being here. I want to thank also the other speakers that we hear for coming out and being a part of this hearing. And I will open up for any potential questions that we might have from the audience, because I know there's a few people out there. So we'll open up for questions or comments from the audience.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mitch Seaman with the California Labor Federation. We just wanted to make 2 quick points. First, to thank the department for all the hard work they do on behalf of workers, and particularly all the efforts they've made over the last year or so to return the system back to what it needs to be in order to more adequately take care of injured workers. As was detailed throughout the hearing, the recession was pretty hard on the unemployment insurance infrastructure, and workers found that the demand for the services, particularly unemployment insurance, far outweighed the resources available. And for many workers, the system more or less broke down, and many had a really tough time getting the benefits that they were entitled to. And since then, a lot of effort has been made, particularly increased funding on behalf of the legislature and the governor's office, that has made a huge difference from the perspective of workers who rely on these benefits, and we're very appreciative of that. We also wanted to make a quick point about the issue of unemployment insurance solvency. When you look at the system as a whole and where it is that we can make changes in order to turn it into something that can be more reliably funded going forward into the future, it's important to focus on a few specific issues. One, the taxable wage base that employers pay. That $7,000 level is not just low, it's the lowest in the country, and it's tied with Arizona as the lowest in the country, and it's the lowest that's allowed by the federal government, and it's been there since the early 80s. And so when we're looking at areas where we need to make some adjustments to keep the system solvent moving forward, we would urge special attention be paid to that as one area of potential reform. And in trying to make a balanced reform, as was mentioned, looking at what benefits workers receive, there's really not much left to cut in our opinion. That $450 maximum benefit level has been there for 11 years. So adjusted for inflation, that's reduced down to $364. And compared to other states, that puts us, these numbers are a little bit old, I think they go back to 2012, but the weekly wage replacement rate, which is the percentage of wages that a worker, the percentage of a worker's wages at job separation that they get in unemployment insurance benefits, is now 7th lowest in the country. So if we were to reduce that even further, we're taking what's already arguably a pretty low cost, low benefit system, and from the worker perspective, making it even worse. And so when we're looking at places to cut, we would urge that we not look at workers' benefits as a place to save money, because from our perspective, it's already incredibly tough to get by on what we see as incredibly low benefits. And in terms of eligibility, it's also already considerably more difficult to get unemployment insurance benefits in California compared to neighboring states. And so as we move forward, as the conversation moves forward, and we certainly hope that it does, we would urge the legislature to not look at worker benefits as a place to cut costs. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you making that comment. And maybe our next hearing we'll talk about insolvency.
Right.
And do great that. Thank you. I look forward to working with you. Again, I want to thank you all for attending the Labor and Industrial Relations Committee for the special hearing on the Employment Development Department. I want to thank staff, consultants for putting this together and doing a great job. Alma Perez-Schwab, Gideon Baum, Deanna Ping, Cody Botts, and Martha Gutierrez for being a part of this hearing. Thank you all for coming, and have a good day.